as you grow older, you start wondering, hey, where am I from? It's such a normal cliche question that any person has, right? I remember one day I had gone to see a concert and there were some fakirs, whatever I read, who were supposed to open, and they came later. So they ended up being the closing act. Even actually beyond that, because at 10 o'clock at an amphitheater, all the sound, everything is kind of cut off. Every single person in the audience had goosebumps. And this is when the first time I think I quite started to get a hang of understanding where my roots could have come from. And I went back and I just looked up Sindh, and I found out then that my most favorite singer, Apta Parveen, is Sindhi. So it was music that led me actually to this path of, I must tell this story. I was that naive that I didn't know that there is a Muslim Sindhi, just like I didn't know there is a Hindu Sindhi. It took me 2 years to even figure out how I want to tell the story, because history books, encyclopedias, online, everything is written by someone who fact checks them. So how do I even know the information that I'm getting is accurate? So I was like, maybe it's time to interview people who lived through history, because that's how history is written, right? There is no filter, there is no me writing, there's nothing. You're hearing history as it happened. One night, I just woke up, there was this conversation that came to my mind when I lived in America and I had gone to meet my nani. And by then my back had been inked and my arms were slowly getting inked. So I was sitting there all like shy and being awkward. So my nani, she just looked at me and she was like, "You're so old-fashioned." I kid you not, it killed my entire revolution in that one sentence. And she was like, well, when we came on this planet, first of all, we didn't have countries, we didn't have boundaries, we lived in tribes, and we had our markings, we had our piercings. That's how we were. And now we wear clothes, we wear designer clothes and shoes and Mangalsutras and all this other stuff that we never really had. So I see you and I see that you're going back to your roots, and that makes me really happy. And that was it. And I was like, that's how I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell it through ink. So I'm going to interview people, and based on their stories, I'm going to get it inked on my body and kind of just become like a human map of partition. The entire lower half of my body has now become a museum. All of a sudden, in 10 days, it's not even tattoos, it's like body alteration. You have to be nuts to do something like this. Maybe that's like a 1% of the kind of pain my ancestors went through. And I think that's why I picked my legs as well, because the legs signify the journey and the feet, the lack of roots. So it could not have been a better place to have actually given for something like that. It's just madness, to be honest. It's a documentary. I mean, documentaries are chaos. Half your crew is not with you for the next shoot because A, you can't pay them. It's a documentary, you don't have budgets. B, they can go on for so long that people move on to other projects. I'm not going to tell you a one-sided story because that's not a good documentary, and I was determined. So I talked to my friends who produce Coke Studio Pakistan. They told me, oh, we can give you a great music director. I'll just say his name is Saif. So when Saif and I got into contact, I was like, Saif, why don't you shoot for me? He was like, yeah, cool, I'll do it, because he has the same vision. I was crying when I saw this footage. The title of the film is also based on the river Sindhustan. So I've really used the river. The river plays a very big role in the tattoo and in the documentary. So you follow the river and you kind of come to beautiful things. You can never kill Sindh because it constantly gives birth to a new Sindh. And that's what's happening. My Sindh is different from my mother's Sindh, from my father's Sindh, from my grandfather's Sindh. But Sindh it is.